The kitchen was a pulse of heat and haste, the overhead light casting sharp glints across the cluttered counter dishes stacked high from a rushed dinner. I was there to clean up a favor for my husband's friend Owen, a man whose quick hands moved with a reckless edge that set my nerves on fire. The clock ticked loud each second, a warning that my husband Tom was minutes away. Owen leaned over the counter, his presence broad urgent pushed fast against my restraint, and I didn't pull back. I was 32, married to Tom, a man whose love was steady but routine, like a meal cooked too often. Owen was different, tall, wired with hands that scrubbed plates with force and eyes that burned with a hunger I couldn't ignore. His plaid shirt sleeves rolled up clung to his muscled frame, damp with sweat from the kitchen's heat. My top, a fitted emerald blouse tucked into a pencil skirt, hugged my curves, catching the light, and his gaze lingered swift, deliberate, waking a desire I'd buried deep. My wedding ring glinted a faint protest, but it couldn't cool the fire rising in my chest. The city was a distant hum beyond the apartment's walls, its pulse drowned by the clatter of dishes and the relentless tick of the clock. Owen moved to the sink, his movements sharp, almost frantic, but his eyes were wild, untamed. I stood by the table, my skirt brushing my thighs, revealing a hint of skin as I reached for a plate, and his gaze followed dark, possessive, stirring something reckless. I should have left when the last dish was cleared, when Tom's headlights were still miles away. But I stayed, and the night grew tighter, hotter. He handed me a sponge, damp and warm from the sink, the soap slick against my fingers. "Scrub fast," he said, his voice low, clipped like the tick of the clock. I took the sponge, our fingers brushing a spark that shot through me, settling low, aching, unbearable. The soap was sharp, but it was nothing compared to the fire in my veins, the want that grew with every glance. My blouse clung to my skin, teasing my curves, and his eyes caught it, darkening with a desire that made my knees weak. The kitchen light flickered, casting shadows that danced across his face, rugged and magnetic. My heart pounded a rhythm that matched the pulse of desire running through me. Owen's gaze was a weight pressing against me, and I felt it every inch of me alive, craving, screaming for something I shouldn't. "Keep up," he said, stacking plates beside me, his voice a sharp command like he was racing more than the clock. I could have grabbed my bag, run to the door, but my body leaned toward him, my skin begging for his touch, his rush. The kitchen was a world apart, the city forgotten. His hand hovered near my arm, so close I could feel its warmth, but he held back, waiting. "Move quicker," he said, his eyes locking on mine, urging me to clean, to surrender. The guilt was there. Tom's face flashing in my mind, his smile as we cooked here. But the want was ablaze, drowning out everything else. I gripped the sponge, my breath shallow, my body trembling with the weight of what I was doing. The night was a race, and I was already running. The kitchen felt smaller now, the shadows tightening as the light burned steady above us. Owen's shirt was damp, clinging to his chest, outlining the broad muscles that flexed as he wiped the counter. My blouse was a traitor, hugging my curves, the fabric heavy with the kitchen's heat, my skin prickling under his gaze. The sponge sat heavy in my hand, but it was his presence that made me dizzy, drunk on the promise of his touch. The city's hum was gone, replaced by the clock's relentless tick, a sound that vibrated through me like a pulse. "You're quick," he said, his voice rough like he was chasing more than the mess. But he didn't move his body, a magnet pulling me closer. I thought of Tom, his gentle hands, his quiet love, the life we'd built, a routine of shared dinners, predictable as a recipe. But Owen's presence was a live flame, raw, untamed, filling the empty spaces Tom never could. My fingers twitched, aching to touch him, to feel the heat of his skin, the rhythm of his desire. The guilt was a sharp jolt, stinging, but it only made the ache deeper, more desperate. The light pulsed, casting shadows that seemed to sway with my heart. My skirt shifted, teasing my thighs, my breasts outlined by the tight blouse, and I felt exposed, alive, wanted in a way I hadn't been in years. Owen stepped closer, his body so near I could smell the sweat on his skin, mixed with the scent of coffee and want. His fingers brushed my hand as he handed me a towel, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through me, my body leaning toward him without permission. "Dry it off?" he said, his voice a low growl, urging me to wipe more than the counter. My hands moved over the granite, the towel smooth and warm, a wordless plea my body couldn't hide. The guilt was a scream, Tom's voice echoing his laugh as we set the table. But it was no match for the fire in my veins, the need that consumed me. I thought of Tom, his face soft in sleep, but Owen's touch was real, burning, pulling me under. My fingers trembled, brushing his arm, an instinct I couldn't control, the blouse whispering against my skin, betraying my desire. His eyes darkened, locking on mine, a silent command to surrender. The kitchen was a cocoon, now shutting out the world. His hand slid to my wrist, light but deliberate, and I gasped, the sound swallowed by the clock's tick. The guilt was there, Tom's trust a ghost in my mind. But Owen's hands were real, promising a pleasure I'd forgotten existed. I leaned closer, my breasts brushing his arm, the contact sending a jolt through me that settled low, aching, unbearable. The light danced across his face, making him look like a man cooking my ruin. "Rush it," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear, sending a shiver through me that made my thighs clench. I couldn't hold back. My skin was on fire, my body trembling with need, my heart pounding like a timer. My hands found his wrist, feeling the heat through his sleeve, the rapid beat of his pulse. I was drowning in it, in him, in the reckless thrill of being wanted this way. The counter was a trap, and I was already pressed against it. The kitchen was a crucible now, the light forging something dangerous between us. Owen's hands were on me, steady, possessive, guiding my fingers along the towel as if he were cleaning my soul. The glow was bright but searing, highlighting every curve of my blouse, my skin prickling under his gaze. His touch was deliberate, each movement a dash in a race I couldn't resist, and I followed willingly, recklessly. My body was alive, every nerve singing, my thighs trembling as they brushed against the counter, inviting him closer. His fingers slid higher, brushing the bare skin of my arm beneath my blouse, and I moaned, the sound soft, desperate, swallowed by the kitchen's hush. My body arched toward him, craving the contact, the sin. The guilt was a jagged knife cutting through me, but it only made the desire sharper, more urgent. His lips grazed my temple, a swift, burning trail that made my head spin, my hands gripping his shoulders, nails digging into his shirt. The shadows danced, mirroring the chaos inside me, every movement a confession. "Move faster," he murmured, his voice rough with need, his breath hot against my cheek, urging me to sink deeper into the moment. But I couldn't pull back, wouldn't pull back. The light caught the sheen of sweat on his skin, making him look like a man serving my ruin. My hand slid down his chest, feeling the broad muscle beneath his shirt, the rapid beat of his heart matching mine. My skirt clung tighter, outlining every curve, and his eyes followed, dark and unyielding, drinking in every inch of me. His hand moved higher, tracing the curve of my ribcage through my blouse, his fingers brushing just beneath my breast, and I gasped, my body shuddering under his touch. The kitchen was a haze, the world reduced to the space between us, to the heat of his hands, the rhythm of my breath. I thought of Tom, his quiet love, his trust, his hand on mine as we cleared dishes, but the thought was fleeting, swept away by the storm of desire. Every touch was a beat in a race of surrender, and I ran it willingly, chasing the fire, the danger, the ecstasy. His lips brushed my jaw, his breath ragged, and I tilted my head back, offering more, offering everything. My body trembled, caught between guilt and need, but the need was a tidal wave crashing over me, drowning out everything else. His hand slid lower, guiding my hips closer, and I moaned loud now, the sound mingling with the clock's tick. I was his, and he knew it, his touch rushing me in ways I'd never be clean of. Then it came, a faint rumble of a car engine outside, Tom's headlights cutting through the dark, breaking the spell, and with it reality. His trust flashed in my mind, clear and accusing, a weight I couldn't ignore. I pushed against Owen's chest, my hands shaking, my breath ragged. He stepped back, his eyes dark with hunger and something like regret, but it was too late. The line had been crossed, even if we hadn't gone all the way. I was marked, branded by his touch, and I'd never be the same. I stumbled away from the counter, my legs unsteady, my blouse still clinging to me like a confession. The kitchen light was harsh now, but it couldn't hide the heat still burning inside me. I grabbed my purse, my fingers fumbling, and rushed to the door, the cool night air hitting me like a slap. The drive home was a blur of city lights and guilt, my heart pounding with what I'd done, what I'd almost done. Tom was unlocking the door as I pulled in, his face soft in the porch light, tired but trusting. I stood beside him, watching his keys jangle, the guilt twisting like a knife in my gut. The days that followed were a fog of want and shame. I went through the motions, cooking dinner, kissing Tom goodnight, but my mind was back in that kitchen, back with Owen's hands, his eyes, his rush. I saw him again at a friend's gathering, his gaze catching mine across the room. We didn't speak, but we didn't need to. The air between us was charged, a silent promise of what could have been, what still might be. I told myself I'd stay away, that I'd be good. But every night as Tom slept beside me, I lay awake, my body burning with the memory of a touch that wasn't his, a race that changed everything. The guilt was a living thing now, clawing at me, but so was the desire, a timer that wouldn't stop. Owen was just a friend. A man who'd cleared a counter, but he'd ignited something in me I couldn't extinguish. I'd stopped short of the edge, but I'd gone far enough to know I'd never be whole. The kitchen, the clock, his hands, they were branded into me, a mark I'd carry forever. If this story set your heart racing, smash that like button. If you think I'm a fool for staying in the rush, hit dislike, I deserve it. Drop a comment, what would you do in my place? Subscribe for more stories that cut deep. Share this with someone who needs to feel the fire, and check out the next one. The truth is raw, messy, and worth it. Catch you soon.